Traders, welcome to this Capitaliseai webinar exclusive for FXCM traders. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. Before we get started, find the chat box somewhere on the screen, open it up, and let me know that you can hear me and that you can see my screen. And we'll get moving as soon as I get a few replies from everybody. Okay, Idrin, welcome. Thank you. Abdil, great. Thank you. We need a few more. Danny, let me know. Ernesto, John, Aline, Anna. Let's see who else we got here. Let me know, traders. Okay, amazing, perfect. So I see quite a few. Anna, welcome, John and Nolene. Okay, so I think we've got enough now that everyone can hear me and see my screen. And while we get into this, hit the chat again and let me know if you guys have used Capitaliseai before. Let me know, and then we're going to get straight into this webinar. We're going to go over, we're going to look at backtesting. Okay, so let's see here, getting a few replies. Okay, so quite a few. Okay, this is awesome. So a lot of traders here that have not used Capitaliseai before. So traders, let me just start off by saying that this is an advanced webinar. So we're going to be looking at backtesting. I'm going to show you where you can get an introduction webinar of Capitalize, but it's definitely worthwhile to stay. We're going to be creating some strategies, and I'll show you what we can do with Capitalize. Considering we have quite a lot of traders that have never used Capitalize, I'll try fit in as much as possible. So let's get straight into it. And what we're going to do is let's quickly get through this presentation. It's very quick. We're going to run through it, and then we're going to get into the practicals. I'm going to show you how you can backtest, simulate, and automate your trading in everyday English, in freestyle text. Great. So traders, without further ado, let's dive in. Let's run through this and get into the business end of it. So in this webinar, we're going to be we'll be discussing how backtesting can be used to improve and optimize your trading strategies. We'll delve into the inherent limitations involved with backtesting, and we'll discuss why traders still use backtesting for portfolio analysis. And we'll take a look at the goals after that. And while we're here, some important ideas that we're going to go through today is what is backtesting, why do we backtest, and then we're going to look at limitations of backtesting, and then we're going to dive into it. I'm going to show you how we can backtest strategies right here, right now, using Capitaliseai. Great, so let's get into it. So what is backtesting? So in a trading strategy or investment strategy, backtesting seeks to estimate the performance of a strategy if it had been employed during a past period. In general, it's a method for seeing how well a strategy or model would have done ex post, and it assesses the viability of a trading strategy by discovering how it would have played out using historical data. And if backtesting works, traders, analysts may have the confidence to employ the strategy going forward. So let's get into the first part of it, why are we backtesting? The first point is to prove our strategy works. So through backtesting, we can test multiple strategies across multiple markets, and through that information, devise entirely new profitable trading plans. It allows us to collect mass amounts of data and information about your strategy in a short time period. It allows us to witness how the plan would have theoretically performed had we been trading it live in the past. And with this information, we can objectively observe whether your or our trading plan would have been profitable or not in those markets. So generally, you should be able to tell within 100 tested trades whether or not your strategy is viable to use. For example, if my strategy has a reasonable drawdown, satisfactory return over a large sample size of trades, then I know with confidence that maybe it's worth my time to attempt executing this on the live markets. So through testing, we can roughly determine what to expect when our strategy encounters a period of consolidation or a trending market or a reversing market, or even a high volatility market. And this can help improve our trading decisions. So one is to prove, second is to optimize, and this is important. I'm going to show you how we can optimize how you can optimize your trading strategies on Capitalize.ai. So you can test it with different entries, with different exits, and find the optimum strategy to use. Great. So through backtesting or through backtesting trading strategies, we can painlessly determine whether or not a strategy is for us without losing any money in the process. If you test a strategy, let's say with over 100 trades and it returned 120%, but at one time the account drew down 30%, then you may not want to trade it. But someone who's more aggressive might love a strategy like that. Or you find a strategy that returned, let's say, 60%, but only had a 5% max drawdown. So perhaps you decide it's not unreasonable to double your position size. Or perhaps you find a strategy that works great and you almost feel comfortable, but you notice it doesn't perform very well during consolidation. So through backtesting, you can identify these flaws, you can introduce new filters, you can increase the potential returns and reduce its drawdown. And we're going to go through all of this. I'm going to show you how you can do this in freestyle text in a moment. Great, guys. And you know, if you have any comments, any questions, feel free to use the chat box. The more comments and questions, the better we'll go along with this. Great. So on to our second last point on why we backtest, obviously, is to create ideas. So most strategies, for example, that I currently use were not ideas that I'd formed clearly in my head. These were strategies that I discovered while testing other strategies. And some strategies worked, others didn't, others perhaps didn't suit my risk appetite. But backtesting is like a mirror to reality. You might have the best trading idea in the world, but if you haven't backtested it, let's say over you know, a large sample size, 100 trades, and it's not profitable, chances are it may not suddenly start working. And you know, likewise, when you come up with a clever idea and you think it probably doesn't work, you may be surprised to see that it does through backtesting. So with backtesting, you can come up with an idea, then put it through the grinder, and whatever comes out is what you pay attention to. This feedback loop allows you to tweak, perfect your approach until you find a set of filters, rules, or as we at Capitalize.ai refer to as conditions. And I'm going to go into all of this. I'm going to show you how you can set up these conditions really easy. And let's get on to the last one. We're making good timing here, so we're going to have a lot of time to go through the platform. And the fourth reason why we backtest is obviously to gain confidence. So unless you're a trader with, or unless you're a veteran trader with many years of consistently profitable trading under your belt, you need a backtest. Any confidence in your strategy may be naive without backtesting. You know, until it's stood the test of fire in live markets, you can't have a clue on how your strategy would perform. So if you start a strategy, let's say, and it loses 5 trades in a row, is it any surprise that you may feel some distress? Absolutely not. You'd be mad if you didn't. So if you haven't backtested your strategy and your strategy loses 5 trades in a row, then you should be concerned, because who's to say it won't lose another 20 or 30 in a row? However, if you had backtested this strategy over a large sample size and personally witnessed, let's say, it endure 10 losing trades in a row and come out the other end profitable and unscathed, then losing 5 trades wouldn't bother you very much. Even though the experience wouldn't be, let's say, unpleasant, you'd know full well that you have at least 6, 7 more trades to take before you should become genuinely concerned. But the only way you would know it's time to make radical changes is if you had backtested it in the first place. Great, so there's our 4 reasons why we're backtesting. Let's move on with this. This is really important for backtesting, and we're going to go into why limitations are very important. So let's look at the first limitation, and it's really important. It's data. So firstly, this requires simulating past conditions with sufficient detail, making one limitation of backtesting the need for detailed historical data. Detailed historical data with real-time market activity. There are millions of messages flowing in from real-time prices, book depth, orders, cancellations, and more. So when performing a backtest, one needs to decide on the granularity of that data set. The more detailed it is, the higher the processing times and costs, whereas the fewer data points presents the risk of failing to realistically represent the results of the strategy. And we're going to go into this. I'm going to show you the data that we use at Capitaliseai for your backtest. Very important to keep in mind. The second one is market effect. So the second limitation is the inability to model a strategy that would affect historical prices. So when running backtest simulation, none of our simulated actions have an effect on the market. Thus, a backtest can't represent a use case in our actions that would affect market behavior. And a good example of that is the effect of a very large short order on a specific stock. And then we'll move on to number 3, and very important, especially when you're automating your trading, something to look out for is overfitting. So we run the potential of overfitting when we decide on our trading scenario and adjust its parameters. What we might inadvertently do is overfit the criteria to the historical data set at hand. And we're actually going to go into this. If you look at historical data, you can see on a bullish trend that every time the SO has perhaps gone a little bit oversold, it's moved up. And if you run a strategy on a very bullish trend like that, it may show very positive results. So overfitting is very important, and a possible solution for it is to test strategies over multiple assets. This is very important, and this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how you can do that on Capitalize. Great, so we're done with limitations, and let's move on to some rules for backtesting. So the first is take into account the broad market trends in the time frame a given strategy was tested. For example, if a strategy was only backtested from 99 to 2000, it may not fare well in a bear market. So very important to see the length and the time frame that the backtest is done on, and I'm going to show you it in the meantime. I see a lot of traders have come in while I've been going through this presentation. Welcome to you all. We're just going through this presentation on backtesting, and then we're going to get into some practicals of it. Open up the chats, guys, and if you have any comments and questions, feel free to pop them in. Great, so the next is we should take into account the universe in which the backtesting has occurred. For example, if a broad market system is tested, let's say with a universe consisting of tech stocks, it may fail to do well with different sectors. As a general rule, if a strategy is targeted towards a specific genre of stock, limit it to that universe. The second is average gain loss statistic combined with win-loss ratio, and I'm going to show you how you can see this on all your strategies on Capitalize. Can be useful for determining optimal position sizing and money management techniques. And lastly, but most importantly, backtesting is not always the most accurate way to gauge the effectiveness of a given trading system. Sometimes strategies that performed well in the past fail to do well in the present, and past performance is not indicative of future results. So be sure to paper trade a system that has been successfully backtested before going live to be sure the strategy still applies in practice. And with Capitalize, you're going to be able to backtest, you're going to be able to simulate, which is very similar to paper trading, and you'll be able to run live as well. Great. So let's move on. We're doing great for time here. So backtesting accomplishes three things. It shows if a strategy performs well in periods when it's supposed to, and vice versa. It provides an understanding of how the strategy performs in different markets. And three, it produces insights on how the strategy might be improved upon. And with that, we can get into the practicals of it. So traders, I see a lot of you have not used Capitalize. So Capitaliseai enables traders with no coding knowledge or experience to create and automate their trading using freestyle text. And with FXCM traders, Capitaliseai is free of charge. So we're going to get into this. I'm going to show you how you can work it. And all of you are being really quiet. Pop a few comments or questions onto the chat. And without further ado, let's get onto the Capitaliseai interface. And while we're moving on here, traders, let me know what platform do you normally use for charts? Are you using MT4? Are you using TradeStation? Are you using TradingView? Let me know in the chat what you're using, and we'll see if we can maybe see some live examples going through whichever trading platform is used the most. I'll just use that one, so don't be shy of the chat box. Great, so this is the Capitaliseai webinar. Oh, great, we've got some questions. Okay, Jim, will this be available to watch after the session? Jim, it will be, but please don't drop off. We've got some great strategies coming up, but you will be able to see this on YouTube as well. Okay, Abdul, you're using FXCM's built-in charts. I take it you're talking about TradeStation perhaps? And Idrin using FXCM desktop and mobile app. Okay, so maybe I'll use some of that. Okay, Jim, thank you for not dropping off. Yeah, you just want to watch it again to make notes. That's perfect. You'll be able to do that. Not a problem at all. So since there's a lot of traders here that haven't used Capitalize, let me quickly go through some basics, and then we're going to get into a little bit of a more complicated strategy. We're going to be looking at candle bar patterns today, and we're going to be backtesting. So just for the new or the people here that haven't seen Capitalize before, this is the Capitaliseai app. And you can just sign up for free at Capitalise.ai. Just go to get started, find FXCM, and just sign up. Sorry. And once you sign in, you'll get to this page here, and the first page you'll see is the live examples page. I'm going to come back to this in a moment. Here is for some inspiration. You can see how examples have been performing. You can use these examples as well. You can use these examples with other assets as well. I'll show you how to do that in a moment later on. Firstly, the in-app chat. If you have any queries, questions, or if you need some help creating a strategy, this is the best place to get hold of us. Then on the left-hand menu bar, you can navigate anywhere and everywhere on Capitalize. And we're going to go ahead and go to create new strategy. And I just wonder, because there's so many traders here that haven't used Capitalize. So okay, I'm still going to do the candlestick pattern, and then we'll do more after that. So this is our wizard, and this is at create new strategy. And here, whether you're backtesting, whether you're simulating, or whether you're running live, you're going to be able to, this is where you put your strategy here. And the strategy that we're going to create is a bar pattern like this. So with Capitalize, you can use indicators, you can use price action, you can use economic data. But for this first example, we're going to go ahead and create a candlestick pattern. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to use our candlestick strategy. And it's very easy. All you've got to remember is that the current bar here This is the ongoing bar, can never close. The moment it closes, it becomes the previous bar. So the previous bar is the latest closed bar. So you have current bar, you have previous bar, and then you have bar with offset 1, offset 2, offset 3, 4, 5, and so on. And with this, we can create a candlestick pattern. And here we've just got a simple reversal pattern. We've got two bears followed by a bull, and the bull is closing above the middle open. And just remember, this is a little bit advanced. You guys can do much more simple stuff with just indicators, price action, and so on. And I'm going to show you where you can get my introduction webinar. Just before this webinar ends, you guys can watch it on YouTube. Okay, I got some questions coming in here. Jim, great question. Can we use Heikin-Ashi candles? Not at the moment. However, it's high on our list of upcoming developments, and we'll keep you updated on all new feature releases. If you sign up to Capitalize, you'll be notified of it. Great. So knowing that we have this and we know how to name each bar, now we can define where, for example, the close of offset 2 is in relation to the open of offset 2. We could also give this size, but for the strategy, we're just going to do we're not going to overfit it. We're just going to give it very basic conditions to meet. So let's go ahead and create this strategy. And we're going to go back to the wizard. And you can start in any direction you want, it doesn't matter. We'll just start with offset 2. And the easiest way to describe this as a bearish bar is we're going to describe the close of offset 2 as below the open of offset 2. So we're going to start it out. And for anyone new there, as I said, you can use freestyle text to create these strategies. So the way you think about your strategy is the way you want to create it. If you're running an indicator strategy on something like an RSI, and anytime the RSI crosses below, let's say 30, you want to buy, you could just write if GBP USD RSI crosses below 30, then buy. But let's get into creating this strategy. And we're going to create it very simply. We're going to give it, we'll go with Google. So we know what asset we're talking about, and then we're talking about a bar. We haven't named this bar yet. We're just going to input the parameters in the tooltip here. We'll go for an hour, for example. And now we're going to give it a name. Okay, so we know that we're talking about the hour close with an offset of 2 bars, which is this bar here. We're talking about this point right here. Then we can say it's below Google bar. And the only difference here, we're going to still keep an hour, but we're going to talk about the open of the bar. I'm going to give it the same name. Great. So we've done our first condition, and we've described this as a bearish bar. We've taken the close with an offset of 2, we're given a name, is now below the open with an offset of 2. So we know what we're talking about. We're talking about the close, we're talking about the open, and we're aligning them. We could go by 0.25% to make it larger. We could, if you want to, perhaps have a very, perhaps have a spike in a bullish bar or something like that. You could put it by delta. But for the strategy, we'll just keep it without. Okay, great. So we've defined the first bearish bar. Now we'll get on to the second bearish bar. And we could define the second bearish bar exactly the same. Or we can just say that the close of this bar of offset 1 is below the close of offset 2. And that's exactly what we'll do. So we'll go ahead and we'll go, and if we'll give it a name, and then we'll talk about the bar. And we're going to talk about the same 1 hour close with an offset of 1 bars. And hang in there, guys. We're going to backtest the strategy, so you're going to be able to see the results that come out from the strategy. So we're talking about the close of offset 1, which is here, being below the close of offset 2. So we could go is below again, or we could just do that as well. Just different syntax, same meaning. Is below Google bar, and we'll go with a 1 hour close with an offset of 2 bars. So we just compared this close as being below this close on offset 2. So that's the bearish bar done, and then we can go on to now the previous bar, and we can say, and if the previous bar is the only one that you use the word previous for. Google and previous 1 hour bar close is below, and that is above rather, because we're going with a bullish bar here. Let me get my syntax right. Is above the open of offset 1. So we're going to go again, Goog bar, and just the way I type in bar, you could type in any indicator. You could, you know, do. Oh no, we can't compare. Sorry, the previous 1 hour to that. I'll get into indicators in a moment. I'm rushing ahead of myself. So then we'll compare it to the bar, 1 hour open with an offset of 1. Okay, perfect. So we just compared this close to that open, we compared this close to that close, and we compared this close to this open. So we have this. There are many ways that you could do it with Capitalize. You could just describe each bar. I've just done it another way. And then we'll go then by one Goog. Perfect. So we're running this strategy. I'm going to open up the screen, and from the entry, you're going to click next. And once you click next, you'll be on the exit. Feel free to move back on our timeline if need be. Nothing's going to change. And here we can start with close position at a trailing stop. Now, you can use anything in the exit. If you're looking for a profit, if you're looking for a stop loss, if you're looking for something with an indicator or price action or eco data, we could use it. We may get into some more examples of that at the end. So let's start off with a trailing stop of 1%. Let me get my syntax right first, of 1%. And here it can go once or in loop. Once, the strategy will enter once, exit once, and it will stop. In loop, after the exit is triggered, it will look for an entry. And here I'm going to click next. And this is important on the confirmation page. There's only 3 pages to running your strategy, whether you're backtesting, simulating, or running live. You can name your strategy if you don't want to. We'll give it a name. You have your entry conditions here. You have your exit conditions here. And you have your entry action. This one's going to be a back test, so we're not going to worry too much there. We're going to go ahead and back test it here. Before I do, you can see here, you can simulate, which is very similar to paper trading, and here you can run live. So let's go ahead and back test the strategy. And very important to note that our back test is beta. It's test for the last 90 days. So yesterday, 90 days previous, including weekends. So it tests for, at the moment, 3 months. We're looking at our next version to definitely have a longer time and to time adjust it. So if you want to test a strategy between a certain time, you'll be able to, or between certain months, or whatever the case may be. And speaking of limitations and the type of data, we use 1 minute historical data. So we look at the open, high, low, and close of each minute for the past 90 days, and we run the strategy through it. A little bit different to our simulated and our live strategies, which are using live tick data updated multiple times a second. Just remember that our backtest is looking at 1 minute data. Great, so we have the results here. And because we have a few newbies at Capitalize, let me quickly go through this page for you. It's our beta version. We have 17 hits on this strategy. And a hit is a cycle. It's an entry and exit. Each strategy needs to go through 1 cycle before starting the next. So this basically represents 17 trades. You can see the P&L here. You have run live, and then you have your control panel where you can run live, edit, backtest, clone, rerun backtest and get a shareable link. And I'm going to come back to the control panel in a moment, because to optimize it, we're going to clone the strategy and we're going to tweak either the entry or the exit. Remember, if you're working on a strategy, if you feel you have a really good entry, then you're trying to tweak the exit. And that's what we're going to try to do with this strategy. I'll come back to that in a moment. Let's quickly go through here, because I did go over it in my last webinar, but we'll quickly go through. Here's the entry conditions. Here's your exit conditions. Here's your hit chart. So this represents each trade, and if you move your mouse pointer over, you can see some details like 14 hits, 2.52%. The P&L was 6.33. You can also see the min P&L and the max P&L that the trade reached during the time it was active. Now, if you want more details like time, execution price, and so on, for hit 14 here, we can come to our notification panel here, and this contains each trade, and obviously each trade has two cards. It has an exit and it has an entry. The exit's always at top, so I'll just scroll down until I see exit 14, and I know that the entry is just below that, and we can see here that this trade triggered on the 30th of June, 12 p.m. You can see the execution price was 2507. 8.88, and then just above it you can see it exited about 7 days later at 2571. So you can get some details there. You can track that on a price chart as well. And here we have our win-loss ratio. So you can see that we had 9 losses at minus 1.31. We had each winning trade was roughly about 3 times more, or just under 3 times more than each losing trade. And here where we're going to go to the control panel, and we're going to test the strategy. So yeah, this is great, but let's see if we can get some better results from it. So the best way to do it is to go to your control panel and to clone it. Once you clone the strategy, it's going to bring up the exact same strategy onto the wizard. And for this optimization, we're going to keep the strategy as is. Sorry, the entry as is. We're just going to change the exit, and we're going to change the exit a few times. So let's try just add half onto the trailing stop. And on the 3rd page, I'm just going to go ahead and backtest. And while this is running, you can move on to, you can create other strategies. So you don't have to wait for this to finish. It's going to finish in the background. We can go ahead and clone again. And this time, let's change it complete. Actually, let's use 3% trailing stop. And then let's backtest that. And while this is backtesting, let's go ahead and clone. And let's try a take profit and stop loss. So let's say close position at profits above 5%, or loss is 2%. And let's test that. And let's backtest that. And let's do one more as well, and then we can have a look, and we can see how it did. And in this one, let's use an indicator. So instead of just using an indicator and a value on it, let's say if the RSI drops by a certain amount, then let's close the position. And we can do this with offsets as well. So we can say close position if Google, and we'll now compare the current RSI. And I'm going to keep it an hour, is below Google RSI. And I'm going to say the same one. I'm just going to move it along with an offset of 1 bars. So this is really important. So when we're talking about the Google RSI here, this is the current RSI, and we're comparing it to the RSI just before that. So if we look at our chart here on offsets, the current indicator is always on the latest closed bar. So if you're using an RSI of an hour, where the current reading is always on the latest closed bar. So when we talk about Google RSI there, I'm talking about here and I'm comparing it to here, to offset 1. And yeah, we can just try it. Let's just see what comes of it. And this is, you know, a great way for you traders to test out different exits and entries and so on. Great. So while this is running, the best place to see these strategies on the left-hand menu bar, we're going to go to the My Strategies page, and let's see here. Okay, Abdul, good question here. Is the number of consecutive losing trades shown? The only way you can actually see it is on the hit chart, and I'll show you that in a moment. So great question. I'll get back to that in a moment. So let's have a look here at what we started with. So, okay, this was our first back test that we ran. This was 17 hits at 6.73%. We just increased the trailing stop, went up to 7.73, then we increased a lot. It went to 10.86. And oh, there we are. So 7 hits here with when we tried with a profit above 5% or loss is 2%, we got 13.55%. And here, this one, 27 hits at 2.37%. Let's go into this one and have a look here. And there you are. You can see the way to tell at the moment, Abdul, is to look here just to visualize. So here we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losing trades in a row. And it still came out profitable there. So this is a great way for you traders to test your strategies out, to see how they backtest on 1 minute historical data. Now, let's say that you backtested, you've optimized, and you found the exact one that you want to use. And let's say that, for example, this is the one that I've chosen. It has a lot of hits in it, and you know, I feel that, okay, this is the one that I want to start simulating. And remember, we spoke about this in the presentation, that it's always best after backtesting to start simulating, to start testing the strategy on live tick data. So we're going to go to the control panel here, and we're going to go ahead and clone. And once you clone the strategy, again, it's going to be a simple copy and paste. It's going to bring it up. I don't need to change anything. I'm just going to go to the confirmation page, and instead of backtest, I'm going to go ahead and simulate. And this is now going to test the strategy on live tick data. You traders can get notifications of these strategies, and the main difference here, or there are quite a few differences, is here you have the widgets which are monitoring the current hit. You can see that here we had 3 conditions, we had 3 bars that we described, and therefore we have 3 widgets. The only thing we're missing here is obviously the notification panel. We don't have the winning and losing ratio, and we don't have the hit chart either, because there've been no hits. But as it builds up, and I'll show you a strategy, or I'll show you a few strategies I've been running where they do have a few hits. So in your live strategies and your simulated strategies, you could put a total stop loss. So as you can also put an individual loss in each trade, but you can put a total stop loss in your strategy here. And in the control panel, you can stop, you can edit it. Feel free to edit it while it runs. It's not going to reset, it's not going to erase any data. Great. So guys, any questions, feel free to pop them on, and some comments, and let's get into creating another strategy. So with this here, we'll get into backtesting another strategy, and just as I optimize the strategy, you can run a single strategy over a group of assets. Okay, so Jim, Goog US is Google. So, oh, let me get my syntax correct. So Goog US is Google, and you know, Tesla and Apple and so on. So let's go ahead and backtest another strategy, and let's use an indicator this time. So let's go if GBP USD And we got to get moving here, guys, because I wanted to just show you how you can automate your day trading. How many of you are trading on price action? If you guys are trading on price action, let me know in the chat. Okay, so Abdul, good question here. If you're testing daily charts on a 24-hour market, how do you decide the timing of open and close? Okay, so for example, if it's trading 24/7 or let's say 24/5, it's 12. For any CFD stocks here, it's the US session. So for example, if you say if the current open of Apple, oh, let me get my syntax correct here. Let's start with this. If Apple current day open is greater, or let's say is above Apple previous day close. Work my syntax there. So if you're saying something like this, the current day open is 9:30 US Eastern, and the previous day close is at 4 p.m. Eastern, the previous day. I hope that answers it. Okay, Jim, you're using price action, so I'll show you guys how you can, when you're watching the charts, how you can set up your strategies to run. So let's just backtest one more strategy and just show you how to test it over a group of assets here. And while we're doing this, let's just go over a few order types as well. So let's get a very simple one. If the GBP USD, and we're talking about, if we could put price, but if we just put it like that, we're talking about the current price. So we can say crosses below, let's use pivot support 1. Yeah, let's use day of GBP USD, then buy 1,000 GBP USD. For those traders who are trading in lots, we don't recognize lots at the moment. So just think of it as 1,000 GBP USD is a micro lot. 100,000 GBP USD would be a lot, and so on. So we could, with Capitalize, you don't only have to buy at market. So if you leave it at this, it's defaulted to market order. You could also buy the limits. So you could say at limits equals to, you could put a number. If you're specific on, the limit you feel you want to get on the asset, you could put a number here, like 1.2, which is not possible, but you get my drift there. However, on Capitalize, you could also use a dynamic limit. So you could base every trade on an indicator or a bar. So we could say, okay, if this does happen, then we'll say equals to the, let's say, to the current week low. So we could loop the strategy, will continue to run, and whenever this condition is met, the strategy will try and obtain a limit that's equal to the current week low. This is what we call a dynamic limit. You could also base it on indicators, on an EMA or MA or whatever you want. And this will keep adjusting. Obviously, if you're using a price may not be relevant in a couple of months or a couple of weeks, perhaps. So this is a great way to enact a limit order with Capitalize. You can also do other order types as well. I'll show you where to find those also. But for this example, let's just run it at, let's just go at this. And for the exit, I'm just going to say close position. Let's say if GBP USD crosses above the PR1, and we'll keep it at day, and we'll go ahead and we're going to go ahead and backtest this. And remember what we were speaking about in the presentation, that it's really good to test a strategy over a group of assets. So if we're going to take a strategy like this, and we're going to run it over a group of assets, we're going to do it the same way. We're going to go to our control panel. We're going to clone it, and we'll come back to see all of these. And any word that appears in bold on the wizard can be changed at the click of a mouse. So we could test this on Euro GBP, for example, just by changing that. A few clicks. Next. Remember to change all the Euro GBPs, all the assets. Oh, for anyone new here, you have a link to TradingView here as well. So, you know, whenever you select an asset in the wizard, you get some reference. You can add indicators, change time, the usual things you can do on a price chart. And we're going to go ahead and test that, backtest that, and let's see how much we can do in 2 minutes, how many assets we can do, and then we can judge how this actually traded across, you know, a group of, in this case, currency pairs. So let's go with USD CAD, and we'll change that. Let's see how many we can get done in 2 minutes. So that's our third one, I think. Fourth, third. And then we'll test another one. And, you know, I know it looks a bit painful at the moment, but we're currently in development as well of creating or enabling traders to group assets together and then run single strategies through them. So stay tuned for our feature releases, or new feature releases rather. And I don't know, let's try test it over another one. I think that's what we'll get through. And at least, you know, we've put this strategy through a lot. Let's see if we can test it on. Okay, let's do AUD CAD. Great. And let's go ahead and we'll run it. And Trade is the best place to view the strategies. Obviously, go to the left-hand menu bar, go to the My Strategies page. Remember, here you can view all your live strategies here. You can view all your stop strategies. And I'm going to come back to that in a moment, Jim, just to walk through quick day trading, just to automate your trading. And then and then we've got backtest here. So we can have a look at how this traded throughout, and you can see here the ones that we've been running. Okay, so we ran it over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we got 5 and we had 3. Let's see. Where was USD CAD? USD CAD lost there and there. Okay, so this is a great way for you traders to engage how the strategy is performing over groups of assets, and obviously to try different exits and so on. Let's see. Yeah, Abdul, good question. Does this allow testing across all instruments on FXCM? Yeah, it does. So if you can trade it on FXCM, you can backtest, simulate, and automate it on Capitalize. So let's go ahead here, traders, and we'll go back to the My Strategies page. We got a little bit of time left, and guys, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them on to the chat there, because we probably only actually got a couple of minutes left. So let's get on to just a little bit of day trading, trying to automate your trading. So for example, I'm just going to use TradingView at the moment. So let's just look at the NAS 100. Let's just see what's going on here. Okay, so let's take, for example, you're trading on price action. Let's just switch that off. Let's just find that. So for any day traders that are, let's see. John, good question. Yeah, you can do it on indices. If FXCM offer it, you can, yeah, create your strategies with it. All of those you mentioned, I think you can. The S&P, SPX USD you can, NAS 100, AUS 200 you can. if you can see it on your TradeStation or MetaTrader 4, then you definitely can. So, just to give you an example of how you can automate your trading, and I'm not really going on. Oh, let me go down to a minute here. Let's just go down to a sharp time frame. Okay, so I'm just taking a very hypothetical. I'm not applying anything to this. I'm just going to go with a hypothetical that, okay, I feel we're near a support, and for some reason you're getting signals and you want to take this trade. So what I have is in my stop list, I have strategies set up already to run once. For example, here I have a NAS 100 to buy 1,000. This is at market. You can use limit as well if you want. And here you can see we're closing position if profit per unit is 2 points, or if loss per unit of NAS is 1 point. And I'm just going to hypothetically say that it's I want to get into the trade. You can just come to your control panel on your strategy and just select play. This is only going to run once, and the moment it's finished, it'll let you know, and we can monitor this trade as well. So we can come over here and we can go into it, and let's see what we got here. So this is the trade. I took a trade yesterday on this, a trade today on this, and yeah, this will be the third trade. So you can see here a simulation which looks very similar to live strategies, how it works. This is monitoring the current hit. You can see the current hit has two conditions. It has a profit and it has a loss. So this is monitoring the loss. This is monitoring the profit, and whichever one reaches first is going to exit the strategy. And if you want the strategy to keep running, you could just simply come to the control panel here, and oh, actually you can't loop a strategy without an entry condition. That's a good point. So if you want to get into market, these will stop when they're supposed to. Let's see where it's going. It's kind of heading horizontal. I maybe got another one, so we'll come back to this one. Let's see. I had another one set up there. Let's see. Okay, Abdul, great question. If we decide to run live, is the execution integrated with FXCM? Yes, it is. So once you set up your Capitaliseai account, you can just go to the left-hand menu bar. Again, you can navigate anywhere and everywhere, and you can just connect your trading account. It's a simple form. Put on your account number, your name, email address, and it usually takes 1 to 3 business days to be connected. Once connected and you run live, if your conditions are met, it's going to trigger via your FXCM trading account. Great. So we've got, I think I've got one here on Euro GBP. I took a little bit of a loss on it. Let's just see what it's looking like at the moment. GBP. And this is not all, guys. I know that I haven't been able to get all. You really should watch my introduction video where we go through smart notifications, how to create these strategies. Actually, let me bring it up so I can actually just show you guys where to get it from. And Euro GBP, let's see here. Well, it's kind of just moving horizontal. We'll just leave that for now. And let's go back to NAS 100. So you can monitor your charts and you can have all of your strategies set up. So when you see the signal, you just switch to Capitalize, go to the control panel, select play, and execute, and it will automatically monitor and execute the position. So we can have a look here. At 21 live, guys, that's actually all the time. I've run out of time. Let me show you quickly where the video is. Let me get it up here. Let me see if I can find it. If most of you go to FXCM's YouTube page and you just go to videos and just search for Capitalize, let's just see if we can find it here. Okay, I think I've got it here. We'll just bring this on. And you'll see here, you want to get the one from a month ago. That was the introduction one. And that will take you through the platform and, show you how to create these trades, all these strategies and so on. you know, today we've only done a little bit. We've gone over some dynamic limit. We've done some back testing. We've done some candlesticks. There's a lot more that we can do on Capitalize. And, you know, we run a webinar every month, so please join. We're going over new strategies and so on. We're going to have some great features that are upcoming. It's definitely going to help your trading, so you're going to want to see this. Guys, I think that's it from myself, the team here at Capitaliseai and FXCM. Really, thank you so much for coming and being so attentive in this webinar. We really appreciate it. Please say hello on chat to us when you join Capitaliseai, and sign up to stay in tune with all the new features that we'll be releasing. And until next time, good luck with trading. Have a great weekend ahead, and all the best until we speak again. Cheers, guys.